HOA Karen filled my well with concrete, but now her sewer pipes are bursting under pressure. Before we tell you an interesting story, write a comment where you are watching us from. It is very important for us. Thank you. I inherited my grandfather's farmhouse, a place that held generations of memories and stood as a testament to his unwavering dedication. He had poured his heart and soul into this land, shaping it with his own hands, never once asking for help. The house, though modest in size, was built with love and care, its wooden beams still sturdy despite the passage of time. A barn stood nearby, its red paint faded but strong, a shelter for the animals he once raised. The garage, spacious and well-constructed, held the tools of his trade, each one marked with the wear of decades of hard work. But the true heart of the property was the well. My grandfather had dug it himself. That well was his pride and joy, the lifeblood of the farm. After he passed, I made it my duty to care for what he had built. Every season, I returned to the farm, sweeping the dust from the floors, oiling the hinges on the barn doors, and clearing the weeds that threatened to overtake the land. But when I came this time, I froze in shock. Right in front of me, in the place of my grandfather's well, stood a concrete mixer. Workers were quickly pouring gray mixture into the depths, and at the edge, with her arms folded across her chest, Karen stood with a satisfied look. "What the hell are you doing?" My heart was pounding as I ran up to the well, but what I saw made me freeze. Instead of the deep old structure that had been there for decades, there was a platform filled with fresh concrete. "Are you serious? This is my property, my well!" Karen just shrugged, not even trying to hide her smug grin.
Not exactly. It's part of the neighborhood, and the HOA decided that this old well was a hazard, so we took action.
I gritted my teeth, barely containing my rage. "We? You didn't even bother to tell me about this!"
Why? It's just a hole in the ground. It wasn't doing any good anyway.
"It's not just a hole!" My voice was ringing with rage. "This is a historic well that my grandfather built with his own hands. He's been supplying this area with water for decades." Karen sighed in exasperation, crossing her arms over her chest.
So what? Get yourself a water tank if you really need it.
"Do you even realize that this well is registered as a historic site?" Karen snorted.
It doesn't meet safety standards. The HOA has decided to eliminate the threat.
I pulled out my phone and unfolded the papers in front of her. "Here's proof. This is an officially registered historic site. You shouldn't have touched it, let alone destroyed it."
Oh, come on. Some papers won't stop me. You can complain to anyone you want, but the job is already done.
I clenched my fists. "Karen, you committed a crime. You destroyed a historic site, and you will answer for it." She waved her hands in irritation.
You're boring me. It's just a hole in the ground, damn it. How can you not understand?
I didn't listen any further. I stepped aside and called the police.
Oh, great. Call them. Do you think I'm scared? I have connections. The HOA has lawyers. No one will do anything to me.
20 minutes later, the police arrived at the scene. They inspected the cemented well, listened to both of us, and began checking the documents.
The site does indeed belong to you, but in such cases, the proceedings should be conducted in court,
the officers said, turning to me. Karen was clearly relieved and regained her self-confident air.
See? I told you. Complain all you want.
The policeman looked at her coldly.
But that doesn't mean you'll escape consequences, madam. The court may order you to pay compensation and punish you for destroying a historical site.
Karen's complacency wavered for a moment. She paled noticeably.
I just wanted to make the area safe.
But the policemen were no longer paying attention to her.
If you need help filing a lawsuit, I can recommend a lawyer who specializes in this kind of case.
I nodded, not taking my eyes off Karen. I already know who to contact. She'll answer for this. That same day, I immediately scheduled a meeting with a lawyer. We went over the situation in detail and began to formulate a strategy. For me, this case was not just a matter of restoring justice. I was defending a family legacy that my grandfather had left me and Karen had dared to destroy. We gathered all the necessary evidence: archival documents proving ownership, photographs that showed the well decades ago, and testimony from neighbors who had known about its existence since they were children. To strengthen our position, I turned to engineers who drew up an exact drawing of the site, proving that the well was within its legal boundaries and did not violate any regulations. 2 days later, I sat in the courtroom next to my lawyer, completely confident in my case. Across from me, Karen, as usual, radiated self-satisfaction and acted as if this trial were an empty formality. She believed that she would get out of this again, but this time I was ready to see it through to the end. As soon as the judge entered the courtroom, there was a tense silence. My lawyer opened the hearing, reminding everyone that I was the legal owner of the property, and Karen had arbitrarily disposed of my property by pouring concrete into the well without permission. My lawyer laid out photographs, documents, and expert reports in front of the judge. The judge looked at them carefully and then turned his gaze to Karen, whose smugness was beginning to fade. Her face, usually full of smugness, was now clouded with worry. He demanded that Karen explain on what basis she poured concrete into my well. Karen tried to justify herself with a little sarcasm, claiming that the well was abandoned and posed a danger to the area. She began to complain that because of my well she had poor water pressure in her house, and then proudly declared that she acted in the interests of the residents of the area. She looked at the judge defiantly, as if she seriously expected that these words would acquit her. The judge demanded proof from her. Karen hesitated, but then pulled out her phone and turned on a video recording of a weak stream of water flowing from the faucet in her house. My lawyer just chuckled and put another folder of documents in front of the judge. These were official reports from engineers that refuted Karen's words. The water pressure in her house had nothing to do with my well. He also emphasized, handing over a copy of the HOA rules, that not a single clause in the rules gave Karen the authority to damage my well. The judge frowned, declaring that Karen's actions violated the rights of a private property owner. The judge leafed through the documents. The courtroom fell silent, broken only by the quiet rustling of papers. The judge looked at Karen with cold severity and stated that based on the evidence presented, the court ruled Karen was required to restore the well to full functionality within 5 days and compensate me for all losses incurred, including the costs of the trial. Moreover, as an additional measure, the HOA fund was required to allocate funds monthly for the restoration and maintenance of my well. Karen jumped up from her seat, her face distorted with anger and despair. She screamed about the injustice and how she should be thanked for her honest work in improving the neighborhood. But the judge was not going to listen to excuses. After the decision was made in court, the courtroom exploded with applause from those present, and I felt the weight of the struggle fall from me.